What's up guys, I'm Dean and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the second video in my movie diary thingy. I'm not sure what it's called, but today I will be talking about every movie I watched in the month of June in 2021, giving it a rating out of 5 and just giving my general spoiler-free thoughts on it. So, let's just jump right into it, waste no time. So the first movie I watched in the month of June might be one of the worst, and that was Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Spoiler alert, it's not very good. I didn't enjoy it. It's got good parts. I like Qui-Gon, I like Obi-Wan, I like Duel of the Fates, I like the fight at the end and the stuff with Maul, but not enough of it is good compared to that. It's a bit weirdly acted. I think there's some weird choices with the story and odd direction and a lot of racial stereotypes, a lot more than I was expecting. I watched this one because I talked about it in my podcast HD Movie Talk, where we talked about everything bad in this movie, everything good, and then we tried to improve it. I'll put the link thing up there if you want to go check that out, because obviously I'm talking about it in a lot more depth there than I am here. And for that reason, I only gave it 1.5 stars. It's not great. The second movie I watched was Yesterday, the movie directed by Danny Boyle, where the musician exists in a world where everyone apart from him has forgotten about the Beatles, and he writes their music and releases it and becomes world famous. I really love this movie. I think it's one of the most underrated movies ever because it's got a great sci-fi concept, but it kind of has a lot of heart building off of that. The stuff with Lily James is amazing. There's one scene, which I won't spoil here, brings me close to tears every single time. It's so beautiful. And also I just love the Beatles. Their music is amazing and it is utilised so well in this movie, and it's kind of treated with the respect that I think it deserves. Obviously it's not very realistic because obviously they wouldn't become popular now, but I don't care. It's still great. It's funny, it's emotional, it's heartfelt, and it's got a really great message behind it. It is probably my comfort movie. If you haven't watched it, please do. And obviously, after saying all that, I gave it 5 stars. I really love it. The third movie I watched was Raya and the Last Dragon. I watched it for the first time this month because it was free on Disney Plus, and I wasn't paying like 20 quid to watch it, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great princess movie. I really love the idea of putting a princess movie in a post-apocalyptic world. I think it's got a good message to it. I think it's well written and it's got great performance and pretty good action, so I gave it a 3.5 stars. And the next movie I watched was Bad Education, not the Jack Whitehall TV show, the Hugh Jackman drama. It's really quite shocking. It's based off a true story, and it's surprising, and the way this story unfolds as the movie goes on is so interesting. Because you as the viewer don't know who to trust and who's telling the truth and who to believe in, and I think they build a lot of tension in such an intelligent way, and the reveal at the end is just as satisfying as the overall movie, so I gave it 4 stars. Another highlight for me that I forgot to say is Hugh Jackman. He's great in everything, but he's amazing in this. Keep it up, Hughie. I know you're watching. The next movie I watched was Nobody. I watched this in the cinema because it only got released in cinemas in the UK in this month, and I missed the first 10 minutes of it because my train was cancelled. So that's fun. But the movie was fine. It was pretty good. It had good action, but I'm not normally a fan of a movie that's just built upon action with not much exploration outside of that. This movie did have some explanation, to be fair. Bob Odenkirk's character is interesting to an extent. But yeah, it was pretty good. 3 stars. I did watch this movie last month and I talked about it last month, but it's The Way Back. It's a coming of age story with Steve Carell and Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is amazing, and it's so Steve Carell. I really hate Steve Carell in this movie. I also watched this one for my podcast. Link is in the same place as before. We brought on a guest, Peyton_JB from TikTok, and we talked about his favourite movie because it's his favourite movie, and I love it as well, and Harlan liked it too. Talking about things I really loved, I watched Bo Burnham's Inside for the first time this month, obviously because it only came out this month. That's besides the point. The first time I watched it, I wasn't a massive fan of the actual comedic elements of it, but I really thought it was amazingly well made. It was amazingly written and edited, and the cinematography was so beautiful, and the emotion behind it was just phenomenal, so I gave it 4.5 stars. Next up, I watched Booksmart, another coming-of-age story, and it's told in an interesting way because it's not focused on the romances, which is kind of what you'd expect when it's about women. And I appreciated that about it, and it was pretty funny. I just don't think it was completely for me. Nothing against the movie, just parts of it isn't what I looked for in a movie, so I gave it 3.5 stars. I would recommend the watch, though, if it's your kind of thing. Talking about... I couldn't think of a good segue, so I watched Godzilla vs. Kong in the cinema. I'd already seen it at home, but I watched it in the cinema, and it was so good. I love Godzilla. Okay, I don't want to breathe. Okay, yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong, it was fine, it was alright. It's really, really stupid, and there are bits of it that make zero sense, and not all of it is super interesting. But I've got to give credit where credit's due. There's not one conversation in this entire movie that isn't about Godzilla or Kong, and I love that movie for it. It really understands what I want to see. I want to see Godzilla. Kong's fine too. Yeah, but watching it in the cinema just made the scale of it and the action so much better, and it did make the plot completely fall apart because I was thinking about it more. But that's besides the point. I loved it. 3.5 stars. It's good dumb stuff. And then I watched Bo Burnham's Inside again, and this time I gave it 5 stars. I think what's really works well about this comedy special is because a lot of the time comedy is about trying to be something that you're not, and Bo is just brutally honest throughout the entire thing, and that's what really makes it compelling. So I would definitely recommend the watch. And also, I also talked about this one on my podcast too. Link's up there. I try not to plug it that much more, but I will. I'm going to plug it because you should go check it out anyway. What did I watch next? Next up, I watched The Hitman's Bodyguard. Just a dumb action movie. That's about it, really. It was just stupid. It's stupid and it's funny. And Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds have good chemistry, but the action was bland and there was too much of it. Nothing really interested me about the action in this. It just was trying to be an edgy action movie, and it ended up being a dumb comedy, but I like the dumb comedy element of it. 2.5 stars, I still enjoyed it. And then I watched Luca, another new release by Pixar, and I really liked it. It was quaint, it was on a smaller scale with a shorter runtime, and I really appreciated it for those reasons. It keeps to its simple concept well, but still has a strong emotional backing, and it's fun, and it's light, and it's funny, and the characters are likeable and goofy, and at times it's a little paint by numbers, but I don't think that made it any less fun. I gave it 4 stars. And then I went back to the cinema to watch Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. That's a bit of a confusing title. I think I preferred this to the first one because it wasn't trying to be an edgy action thing. It was trying to be a dumb comedy, and it was a lot dumber, and the comedy was still there, and it was still really funny, and there was still action, and I don't think the action was improved at all, but I think there was less of it, so I did appreciate it for those reasons. Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, why are they so confusing titles? I gave 3 stars, slightly better than the previous one. Any guesses? I watched Bo Burnham's Inside again, and I watched it a 3rd time because my girlfriend wanted to watch it, and I watched it with her, and she kept asking me something very interesting throughout. She kept saying, what is the point in this? And it's not something I really thought about because most comedy specials don't have a point, but this isn't any comedy special. A lot of the music throughout it is very similar, and I think that is for a reason, because I think the special was about the recursive and the damaging nature of modern culture and the internet and social media. And I think you can tie every single song in this and every single skit, if that's what you want to call them, back to that theme. And I think it's explored very well. Because the 2 things that come up the most to me during the special is the disassociation that the internet causes and the effects of the multi-billionaires like Jeffrey Bezos have on our world, and how we're so entrenched in all of this that we can't change it. So he did keep it light and fresh, fun, and still gave it 5 stars. And then I went back to the cinema and watched In the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda's newest musical, and I loved it. Musicals are alright. I don't have any genres that I dislike. I don't think you should really dislike a movie for the genre that it is, but I feel like a lot of a lot of musicals fall down because they're cheesy and a bit flat, and this was very cheesy, but I don't think it definitely wasn't flat. There was a lot of exploration of these characters' identity, and they had development throughout the movie, which was handled really well. And I keep saying this about a lot of the movies I watched this month, but it's got such a strong emotional backing. Honestly, this movie brought me close to tears at one point. I think there's some really powerful stuff in it. The cinematography is so interesting. The ending is great, although the first act does go on for too long, and then the third act is a bit stop-starty. So my biggest problem with it was the pacing, but it was really good. It was really strong. The music was fine, and the emotions behind it were amazing. 4 stars. Okay, let's get this one over and done with. My penultimate movie of the year was F9, Fast and Furious 9. F9, what kind of... It's got such a dumb name. And I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Fast and Furious saga, and this one definitely falls into the more hate than love category. It was so dumb, and you expect that from all these movies. You expect them to be dumb and fun, but it wasn't fun. Also, this saga doesn't make any sense to me. It just keeps contradicting itself, and I don't even know where to start with talking about this movie. Okay. I just don't understand what they think when they make these movies. It doesn't make sense to me. Dominic Toretto. Okay, let's talk about Dominic Toretto. Vin Diesel is not a talented actor, in my opinion. In this movie, he's very flat, I think, and he has one face throughout the entire movie. He just doesn't change his facial expression. He's always like, blah, 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 I can't understand what he's saying. And literally, so like Han comes back from the dead, that's all in the trailer, and his son is talking to him, and he's got a long-lost brother. And there's a bit where Han comes back to the dead and he sees Han. There's a bit where he sees his long-lost brother, who he doesn't like, and there's a bit where he's like his son is talking to him. And every single time this happens, he's just has the same face, and he doesn't say anything. There's no conversation in this movie. I don't know if it's the writing or what, but whenever someone has a conversation with Vin Diesel in this movie, it drags it down. And sure, there's some fine action and stuff like that, but the flashbacks were good. The guy who played the young Vin Diesel, young Dominic Toretto, was really good. He did really good in the role, but it is just so bland, and I was actually getting bored. And I don't want to talk about it, guys. Can you stop making me talk about it? I like some of the Fast and Furious movies a lot. Why is Paul Walker's character still alive in them? Okay, it's like the elephant in the room whenever they mention him, because they're like, oh, why isn't he here? Oh, they're going to bring him back. I think they're going to have to bring him back. And why is Vin Diesel's son named after Paul Walker's character when Paul Walker's character isn't? It's just... And another thing. Sorry about that, guys. That did go on for about half an hour, so I'm going to try my best to edit it down, maybe cut out the end bit. But in conclusion, I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, and I don't even think it's the worst movie in the Fast saga, but it's definitely the most baffling. It's definitely the most contradicting, and perhaps it's the most boring, and it's definitely the one with the stupidest name. Why is it called F9? Okay, just stop talking about it. And my last movie of the month wasn't any better. Okay, it wasn't. It was worse, to be honest, but I think it makes me a little less angry. I am talking about Fantastic Four from 2015, directed by Josh Trank. I watched this for my podcast. This is my last plug. It'll be out on Tuesday. We talk about the good, we talk about the bad, then we improve it, and we talk a lot about the upcoming MCU one and just the Fantastic Four as a whole. I love the Fantastic Four. Amazing characters. I think they are so underrated in cinema, and they are some of the best superheroes ever, in my opinion. And this movie just trounces on all of that. It feels like 2 different movies. There's a split in the middle where just what happens completely changes. It just does not work as an overall flow. And Doctor Doom is just one of the worst villains ever in this movie. I might need to go sit in the corner in a minute. Doctor Doom's terrible. These characters have no relationship with each other. They have no repertoire and they have no chemistry. They at the end of the movie they reference a relationship they have with each other and a rivalry they have with Doom, but we did not see this once throughout the movie. There are too many time jumps. There's like one action scene. All the best stuff was in the trailer. Just not good. I gave it 1 star because that's all it deserves. Okay, sorry about it, guys. I did kind of lose it with those last 2 movies, but they were bad movies in all fairness to me. But next month I'll try and watch better movies. I'll try. I'll be watching Black Widow. Hopefully that's good. But you know, I don't need to tell you guys this. Just thank you for watching. Please remember to like. Please remember to comment. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It still feels weird to say all of this. And like I've said a million times in this video, go check out my podcast. That would mean a lot to little old me. And I'm sure Harlan wouldn't mind it as well, who is my co-host. He's Fluffy Duffy on TikTok. You probably know him. He's like... I'm pretty sure he's got like the most followers on TikTok, more than anyone. But anyway, yeah, that's all. See you next month when I do this same video again. All my links are down below. Thank you and goodbye.